Hey guys, welcome back to another flashlight review, and today we're going to be looking at a unique multicolored flashlight. This is the Speras TH4, and I know we're all used to different multiple LED flashlights. There's nothing groundbreaking there, except with some of these multiple LED lights like the say Sofa and IF25A, they're often floody type of flashlights that come with the same LED in there, or they just come with a spot beam and multiple LEDs in the same kind of bulky head, so it really takes up a lot of room. Anyway, Speras have solved that problem in this light here, the TH4. And sure, it's not an EDC flashlight by any stretch. It's got a pretty large bezel, but it does have 4 different colored LEDs under the hood that you can mechanically activate them with a twist of your wrist. So, with about 800 meters of throw, I think it's pretty impressive on that white mode. So, yeah, the TH4 is marketed as a hunting light, but it can be used also as a walking light or even as a tactical flashlight, which I'll show you a bit later. So in terms of what you get in the box, apart from the flashlight, Speras include a 21700 cell here, 5000 milliamp hour cell. It does come with a protection circuit as well, which is good. Doesn't make it a little bit chunkier than a normal 21700 cell, but the good thing is that it also takes other types of 21700s. You don't have to use this stock cell. We'll have a look in the carry case. And the case itself, as you can see, it's just like a plastic case. It does have some specifications here. If you want to pause the video, find out a bit more. 5-year warranty. And on the back here, we'll just get the glare off the camera, but you should be able to see here the specifications if you want to pause the video and have a read of them. And let's have a look. Let's open this up and see what you get. So as you get your instruction manual, you get a wired switch. So this goes, connects on the USB-C port of your TH4, and there's 3 buttons in here. I'll demonstrate that a bit later. We've also got a USB-C charging cable along with a couple of spare O-rings. And you've also got a mount here. And this could be pretty useful if you're not mounting it on a rifle, for instance, which is what it's actually intended for. You could actually mount this on a bicycle, motorbike, or something like that very easily. So, yeah, I like that they've included this. It's kind of like a universal mount, really. You can unscrew it completely and just tighten it around. Okay, guys, and as always, I'd like to bring out a few other flashlights to compare with. These ones kind of all roll around. There's nothing kind of stopping them from rolling around. But I do have this one here. It's the LED Lenser P6R Core QC. It's probably the closest thing that I have to the Speras TH4. I do have another Next Torch multicolored one, but it doesn't have a focusable beam. So yeah, both of these operate in kind of similar ways, actually, whereas, here you kind of rotate to switch colors and then pull to zoom in and out. The TH4, it's got this much more sturdier switch here. This really feels like a proper, I don't know, for some reason this feels very military and just feels a lot sturdier. And in terms of the zooming in, you don't pull it, but rather you just rotate the head. So you hold onto the body and rotate the head like that. So definitely much more kind of sturdier construction. Whereas this one, you can operate it with one hand. That's probably the advantage of it. But you're not going to get that extra performance. And of course here I've got my Convoy L21B. So, you can see it's a little bit smaller, both in terms of bezel diameter and length. But yeah, when it's fully extended out, it is actually a little bit longer. when you're zoomed in. Okay, little close-up of the Speras TH4, and you've got that excellent quality construction. I have to say, it just feels and looks very military, like I mentioned before. And the overall machining, I'd say, is on par with other high-end tactical flashlights that I own. And most of these tactical flashlights are engineered to higher standards because they have to stand up to the test of the job in terms of when they send them out to military law enforcement teams. So, yeah, the level of construction here is definitely of a very high standard. There's no sharp, rough spots, nothing like that. No inconsistencies in the finish. Speaking of which, the anodizing, it's kind of between a matte black and glossy, so it's not overly grippy. It does have a little bit of grip to it, and I think definitely some additional knurling would have been nice for people who want to hold on to this flashlight. It's still pretty grippy. It's no huge deal. But yeah, if you're mounting this light on a rifle, this definitely isn't going to be an issue. So the light's operated by rotating this selector switch, like I mentioned under the head. So basically just, you can see that little white dot there moves around. So you just flick it over to whichever mode you want. So green, white, red, infrared, like that. And, like I was showing you before, that sort of the head just zooms in and out that way. It does require both of these mechanisms. It does require a little bit of, a little bit of force. I don't know if force is the right word. Just a confident twist, I suppose. You can do it with one hand. You can do it with one hand. The Zoomie part is a little bit more tricky to do with one hand, but it is possible. You also have a single tail switch here. Very quiet tail switch, as you do find with hunting flashlights especially. You really don't want to make too much noise. And the cool thing about these switches, this switch here, is that you just rotate it and you can dim and increase the brightness of the beam. It's like a stepless switch, really rotary switch. So that's pretty cool. Bunch of lanyard holes as well on the tail, and it does also tail stand. And one thing you'll notice is that on the side of the light here, just on the back of the tail cap as well, there is a little battery indicator. So it glows green or red, flashes red when the battery starts to run down. But this also doubles as a charging port, USB-C charging port there. And also, this is where you connect the wired switch. So it just snaps on the back like that. Okay, and there you go. You can control the light with that switch. Like I mentioned, the TH4 takes any 21700 cell. It's good to see also, beefy springs under the head and also in the tail, which is really going to help with shock absorption and recoil. So here we have a little close-up under the head of the light. And the head has a much larger diameter than the rest of the body. And thankfully, the lens is recessed a bit in there. So it does provide some protection for the lens, which does not have a protective secondary glass lens on the front. So I'm not really sure what type of lens this is. To me, it looks a bit like a TIR lens. And yeah, just with these concentric rings, if you look really closely, there's lots of these very, very fine concentric rings, probably 0.5 millimeter in distance from each other. I think this design helps to even out the beam. A little close-up of the LEDs. And you can see each LED actually sits on its individual kind of platform. So when you rotate the switch, it just swaps them in and out, That's the infrared. That's the infrared module. And you've got the red, you've got the white. The white looks like a Yiding 5050 LED, perfectly circular hotspot with that circular die surface. And you've got the green LED here as well. I like when you're switching from different LEDs, there is really a confident click at each point, and it sort of locks in as well. You really got to twist it to switch to the next mode. So with this thing in your pocket, it's not going to accidentally move around, especially if you just touch it here and there, casually. You're really going to have to put in some direct effort to change modes, which I think is a good thing. All right, so I'm going to go through the UI. So it did show you how the head was rotated to zoom in and out. So basically, that's to zoom in, that's to zoom out. Select the ring underneath, obviously. So we'll start off in the green mode. What you do is just press that tail switch once, okay, and it turns on. And of course, by turning the dial on the tail, you can increase, decrease the increase and decrease the brightness. Got it, that's on the flood mode now. Zoomie mode. Okay, you can also, while you're in a mode, just switch directly to another like that, and it will change mode, so you don't need to turn it off or do anything funny. There's a momentary function as well. So instead of just pressing quickly to turn on and off, just press and hold for longer than 0.3 seconds and then release, and you basically have a momentary on switch like that. Now, I did demonstrate this switch before, but I'll go into it a bit more detail. This wide switch here on the back. So there's actually 3 buttons in here, but they are not marked. You can just sort of feel the indentations, the sort of convex parts on the switch itself. Okay, so essentially how this works is that you just press that middle switch here to turn on and off. Now this is like a memory mode, so you can actually press and hold the top part of the switch and the bottom part of the switch to dim and brighten the light, okay, like that. And then if you turn it off and turn it back on, it remembers that last mode, okay, that sort of dimmer sort of mode. Now what you can do is just press the top switch here near the cord, and that will activate the light on 100%, and then you've got to set the memory again. So yeah, would it be nice if it could have a memory mode and then like a high mode, a shortcut to the high. You can also hold the middle part of the switch as well to get access to this momentary mode. And one thing to keep in mind, when you've got the switch plugged in, the wide switch, this dial does not work anymore, which I think it's good. Disconnects that, so you know that the brightness is only controlled by this switch alone. All right, so I ran a bunch of ceiling bounce tests here, and you can see I've got the Speras TH4 just on the white LED, 100%. And you can see it pretty much holds between 90 to 100% of output all the way to the 8-minute mark, where it steps down to about 30%. And you can see it just remains there for the remainder of the test. I also ran another test on the red mode at 100%, and it pretty much maintains 95 to 100% output for the duration of the test, which was just after the 20-minute mark. Ran a third ceiling bounce test also on the green mode, 100%, and you can see here it just lasts 95 to 100% for the duration of the 20-minute test. So some great sustained output really on all modes. Bunch of tests also with my Opal Light Master Pro, and you can see the throw figures there for green, 381 meters. These are 100% measurements. White, 100%, 736 meters, and on red, 226 meters. So definitely that white throws the furthest, and coming down from there, green and then red. The interesting thing is that the IR module also throws over 150 to 200 meters by my estimates, and I'll show you a video of that using some night vision night vision binoculars later on in the video. So in terms of CRI and CCT, I only measured the white LED here. So CRI 72, pretty standard for a throwy LED that does focus on visibility, and CCT 7167. So it's definitely on the cooler end. I found when testing the TH4 outside, it really has quite versatile operation. You can zoom out to a perfectly circular flood beam with no artifacts to a very tight hotspot. So you get the best of both worlds in terms of having that flood and throw in the same flashlight. When you zoomed in as well, there's virtually no spill, just an intense hotspot. But do keep in mind, when you are zoomed in, you do lose a bit of output as well. So some considerations that you need to be aware of. The red beam is kind of squarish shaped, between like a square and a circle when completely zoomed in. And you can see the bond wires on the beam, but that's mostly when you're looking at it on a white wall. When I was doing some beam shots with the TH4 later, it didn't have really that much of an issue outside. So yeah, it's not noticeable outside in practice, but indoors, which you're probably not going to use it anyway, you do see some bond wires. And yeah, I'm waiting for the day that these round LEDs will be available in different colors. So that white LED in there, I think that would be perfect in lights like these. And the second consideration is that would like a way to lock the output at 100%. So when you're using this light without the wide switch, I find that sometimes you can actually rotate that dial accidentally, even if it's in your pocket. And, I was using the light thinking that it was on 100%, but it was actually on about 80 or so percent. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. There's no issues if you are using a wide switch, that wide switch attached to the back as it disables the dial. But yeah, it would be nice if there was some kind of mechanical lock there. The third consideration is there's no protective glass lens on the front of the TIR lens there. Okay, but thankfully it is recessed a bit, so it does offer some protection. Another consideration is that, yeah, using it one-handed is, it's possible, but it is a little tricky. All right, just due to the stiffness of the mechanism in there. But at the same time, I think it's also advantageous because there's less likelihood for accidental activation of different modes, different zoom levels, so it will stay put. The final consideration is, of course, price. So you're going to pay a premium for the TH4 just due to this mechanical LED system. You get 4 different beams, and there's really just not many alternatives or competition out there. The one that I could think of was the Brunite T28, which is missing the IR LED module and also doesn't have as high of a throw rating. So it rates 525 meters instead of the 700 plus 700 to 800 meters that I measured on the TH4. So overall, the Speras TH4 is one unique flashlight, and I think would be useful for a hunter or perhaps someone who does night walks, maybe would like a range of colors to choose from. The red and green LED will help preserve your night vision and is not visible to animals as well. Speaking of which, if you use night vision goggles, the IR LED may be useful to you in order to spot animals and targets from a distance without drawing attention. In the beam shots later on, I'll show you how it works and the performance. I was really surprised at how throwy it was because it doesn't produce any visible light, so it just seems like it's not on, but it actually is. So yeah, if you're into throwy flashlights like I am as well, I think the TH4 is definitely a dream. It offers a variety of throwy beams to choose from, different colors, and also excellent sustained output. So if you're interested in getting one, go ahead and check the link in the description. I've got a special discount voucher there. If you have questions, leave them down in the comments and I will get back to you. If you found this video helpful as well, enjoyable, do me a big favor and click the like button. It helps me to get more videos out to people. And if you want to see more reviews and flashlight news, make sure you subscribe. All right, I've got the Speras TH4 here, and this is on the green mode, and it's on 100%. All right, 100%, and I can sort of dim it down, you know, as well, but I'm keeping it on 100 just to show you the long range performance. Pretty good. It's about 150 meters all the way to the back there. And, you know, looks like a more or less a circular beam. So Speras have done a good job in terms of focusing the LED. Now, if I unscrew the head a little bit, you'll notice that now we've got a really large hotspot and more light as well. That's one thing to keep in mind as you do zoom in more. It reduces the light output, but look at that. So easy. And at some points it almost looks a bit squarish like there, but fully zoomed in it's pretty much a circle. Great visibility. And we'll switch over now to the white mode, the white LED, and this is the brightest, the throwiest out of all of these LEDs. And I mean, very easily reaching the back there, hitting the trunks of those trees. Now, you know, all the leaves and stuff up the top. And there's pretty much no spill. I mean, actually, due to it being pretty dark around here, there's not much ambient light. I do see some spill, but I would say 95% of the light is just focused on the actual hotspot itself. Unzoomed again, and the edges of the beam does have some funny coloration. Seems to go a bit warmer, but it's not a big deal. I like how pretty much at all stages of this beam, all sort of zoom levels of this beam, it's just perfectly circular and the light is evenly distributed. But even something like that, you know, that's probably maybe 500 meters of throw, and you get such a huge hotspot. Zoom it in, and there's something about these spheric lenses that just so satisfying. I've seen it in a few other lights, mainly in LED flashlights, but with LED lights like this, especially with that perfectly sort of circular LED, there's a few of them out there on the market. They just look amazing. And we'll switch over now to the red. All right, there's the red, and you know, pretty floody at the moment, but it doesn't go all the way down the back like the other colors. Let's zoom in and see what happens. Okay, that's doing pretty good. That's doing pretty, like, I'd say it's doing pretty good for just the red alone. It's not as bright as the other two, but at this distance it would be enough light to see what you're looking at. If you're looking at an animal, if you're just spotting something out there. Okay. And though the beam is almost a little bit, it's kind of in between a square and a circle, you can't really notice it that much out here. Plus the bond wires on the LED are also barely visible, especially all the way out the back there. It's only when you use it indoors on a white wall that you do see the bond wires on the red LED. But I think Speras have done a pretty good job in terms of focusing this LED. You can see there sort of, yeah, this funny sort of point where it becomes a square, then more circular. I wonder if they must all be kind of standardized, tested to make sure that they're pretty much
completely focused. And the infrared module now, it's look, you can't really see much. I can shine it into the camera, but my camera does not pick that up at all. Even on this highest ISO setting, doesn't pick that up at all. But obviously you can see that it does have an effect when you bring it up closer to the camera. So, all right, I got the Speras TH4, and this is on the green mode. Let's zoom it out. Surprisingly, like throwy, even completely unzoomed. And I'm just trying to see if I can hit those buildings in the back. It's not quite reaching there, just tinting them maybe. Yeah, not really hitting those buildings. So maybe a few hundred meters away. But it is getting those trees out on the other side of this field. And it'll be a different story once we switch to this one. This is the white LED. Yep. It is hitting those buildings. Zoom out again. Red. Probably the least throwy out of all the LEDs, but this is also a fantastic walking light. Just unzoomed like that, you can dim it down as well and just go for a walk. Quite easily see what's around and not be bugged by the intensity of the light and the harshness of the light as well. So I'll go for a bit of a walk and just demonstrate that you see the beam profile a bit better. Zoom in and out. And it's very difficult to tell on camera, but there is some spill on the ground. Very, very, like a minuscule amount of spill. It's just maybe about 5% of the light is just not channeled into that hotspot. But it's useful enough to see where you're going up close. So it's not completely, it's not a very nice looking beam in terms of the spill. The hotspot is, it's fantastic, but the spill is still useful. I mean, if you don't have much light around you, it's doable. Let's switch over now to the white LED. This one's so intense. Yeah, just heard something behind me for a second. Thought it was like a dog or something, but there's nothing there. Thought it was a person walking a dog maybe. That's weird. Okay, so yeah. I like how this LED just remains completely, like completely throwy, even at a large, completely zoomed out like that. Still pretty throwy. Red. And yeah, this has got to be the throwiest red LED flashlight that I have in my collection. This is the infrared flashlight that I have, and I'm really multitasking. I was trying to focus at the same time, and this is making a huge difference. It's a Speras TH4, the 850 nanometer infrared light, and this is really producing. You can even see that tree all the way back 200 meters or so. That tree right in the center there with the white trunk. It's a bit difficult to make out, but yeah, that's the 150 meter or so mark. Yeah, a couple of rocks and logs down right at the back there that I tested out some multi-tools the other day. Okay,
as we get closer, this infrared light, and bear in mind as well, this infrared light is pretty much, it's invisible. It does let off a faint glow if you look at it, point it right into your eye, but other than that, it's undetectable, especially for animals. I wonder if I just change this a little bit. Let's just unzooming it a bit. Does that do anything? Yeah, okay. So just zoom the light. You can zoom the light in and out, reduce the intensity of it, but cover a larger area. But if you really want to see all the way back there, you do need to pop it on, but it's making a huge difference. Yeah, just a little fun. And got another infrared torch here on the right, and you can see it's managing to pick up that person all the way through the back. I mean, if I take it away, you kind of see, you still kind of see him, but there he is.